on set. She's going to start in Russia today. The new parliament has had its first session yesterday after huge demonstrations over electoral fraud. What are the papers made of it there?
Well, the new Duma had one of its most quarrelsome sessions in years, the Moscow Times reports on its front page. They say that United Russia, Vladimir Putin's party, did manage to get their candidate for speaker elected, but all the deputies that aren't members of United Russia voted against them. That's pretty surprising because in the past it's been a kind of tick-box parliament that even the supposedly opposition politicians, the paper reports, have mostly gone along with whatever United Russia wanted to do. But now they clearly have a newfound confidence as a result of all these street demonstrations, the paper reports, and they're much more inclined to start speaking out against what Putin's party wants to do. Now, in that paper's editorial, though, they say that this might all be a clever strategy on the part of Vladimir Putin to make himself look more legitimate in the future. They say that he would probably still win a free and fair election, so all of this manipulation might not be quite so necessary. They reckon he might be encouraging demonstrations to go ahead normally, encouraging opposition candidates to stand against him in next March's presidential election. Because if he won a democratic, legitimate runoff, then that would make him look a lot more legitimate as president, and therefore he might actually be encouraging opposition, thinking that might be the best way to shore up his own position.
Now, another story we haven't covered too much lately, actually. Bradley Manning, the US soldier, of course, accused of leaking the WikiLeaks cables last year, faces pre-trial hearing for treason this week.
They round up yesterday, as the Daily Beast reports. They say there's been widespread media indifference. There weren't that many reporters in court yesterday, they say. But actually, Camp Manning's case is actually terribly important because he is, of course, accused of having leaked all of those WikiLeaks cables. So if it wasn't for him, as they say, WikiLeaks wouldn't have been a household name this year. Neither would Julian Assange. Possibly even the Arab Spring wouldn't have taken place as it has done, because what was revealed about Tunisia especially was important in inflaming the rage in that country that led to Ben Ali being overthrown. So we should actually be talking about their case a lot more, as they say, whereas Paul Manning, of course, is facing possibly a life sentence or even theoretically a death sentence for treason. Now, The Guardian has an interesting article about him today in which they say we should all have more solidarity with Bradley Manning because they reckon that if the face of the year was a protester, as Time magazine put on their front page, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, then maybe Bradley Manning, according to The Guardian's writer, should be the face of that protest because what he did, they say, was terribly courageous and could be found at the root, as I was saying, of a lot of the Arab Spring uprisings this year. They remind us that his conditions of detention apparently are so bad that the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Torture is investigating them. So we shouldn't be forgetting him.
Another story on the front of The Guardian you pulled out.
I have. Just quickly, the main headline here is British women to sue over breast implants. Of course, these are French breast implants that we were talking about yesterday that could cause cancer. So that scandal spread across the channel. Well, what I'm really interested in is this story at the bottom here. Economic migrants flood out of Europe in search of jobs. They've done a special report in The Guardian on all those Greek, Portuguese, Spanish, Irish and Italian young graduates who are moving not necessarily to traditional countries like Australia, where people have always emigrated, but to places like Brazil, Argentina and even Angola that recently were third world countries. So they've reversed, if you like, the traditional flow of migration. Now, they say that's pretty worrying for the European countries involved because most of these people are highly qualified graduates. So if Greece and Portugal and Ireland are going to reset their economies, they probably need these people. So it's a little bit worrying for them.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. And finally, she's got some bad news for us, for Santa.
Well, the Daily Mail does. Apparently, if he needs to recruit new reindeer, he shouldn't look to Canada, where the world's biggest reindeer herd has lost 24,000 animals this year, according to the Daily Mail. Apparently, it's because of engineering projects like road development and iron mines, which have been ruining the habitat of reindeer herds in northern Canada and causing them to die out. So very bad news for Rudolph and his friends in the Mail.
Sad stuff. All right, Elena, thank you very much. That's Elena bringing us up to date with what's in the international papers right around the world here on France 24. Headlines again then, around 12